Today, I will be taking you through the different techniques and exercises I have been using to keep my shoulders not only healthy, but also bulletproof and safe for my calisthenics and strength training. Because if you're doing any kind of resistance training, be it calisthenics or otherwise, if you do not work on your shoulder health and mobility, the chances of you getting injured over time are practically 100%. So to avoid this bleak future of low shoulder mobility, lack of control, and definitely shoulder weakness, we will go through a handful of exercises, starting with very easy ones and working our way up to some of the more intense exercises that require both strength and control, as well as additionally flexibility to get you to advance your shoulder health and mobility more and more. So if you are ready, let's go have some fun. Now, while the major three aspects we need to worry about are strength, flexibility, and control, we can definitely take a couple of exercises that combine at least two or maybe all of these in one single go. So we will start with the flexibility and control part by grabbing ourselves a stick. Any sort of stick will do. I'm using a broomstick just to demonstrate that it doesn't really matter. Our starting position will be a seated one. We will grab the stick wide enough apart that we can go through a complete rotation in our rotator cuff, meaning with both arms fully extended and our shoulders completely extended. We want to be able to go into a complete rotation. Now keep in mind, we're not just going through the movements, but there are very important key indicators we need to be worrying about. In our starting position, we are going into scapular depression, pulling our shoulder blades down actively. When moving forward, we want to abduct our shoulders, pull them apart as much as we can. And once we move up, we're pulling our shoulder blades with us to get into scapular elevation. From here into scapular adduction, pulling our shoulder blades together, and then back into scapular depression, pulling them all the way down. So now we're going through depression, adduction, elevation, abduction, and back into depression again, which some of you might already have some experience with depression. Four of the major scapular positions we need to be worrying about outside from upwards and downwards rotation. So going through this movement in a controlled fashion already takes care of the control part, and the flexibility part comes through going into this complete rotation, opening up our chest and our shoulders and working on our scapular movement and stabilization as a bonus. So now we've put together control as well as flexibility, which moves us to the next exercise in the same starting position, asymmetrical rotations. We're gonna fix one arm and we're gonna move with the other. Both arms stay completely extended during the entire exercise and one of them stays unmoving. So now additionally to our flexibility, we are adding asymmetrical control for those movement patterns, which in time will be very beneficial to us. Now, before we can change starting positions, we have one more movement pattern to go through. This will be a combination of scapular elevation and upward extension, as well as scapular adduction and depression and downward extension. We want to stay as close to our back as possible with the stick. Go all the way into elevation, pull your shoulder blades up, reverse, and pull them down. And for good measure, we're going to add one last exercise in this category. Stay in this rotational focus that we have. We're going to grab on both sides, and all we want to do is go through complete turnarounds in our stick. This is going to cross over our arms. We still want to keep our shoulders extended forward, and we are moving with complete control, adding some rotational mobility to our rotator cuff. Now, as a bonus for the people who are working on this control and flexibility part, but still want to add a strength focus to the exercise, using a resistance band not only gives us resistance in those exercises, but variable resistance, meaning the more our range of motion extends, the longer our movement, the more strength we need in the end range of movement. And that is exactly where most injuries happen. So using a resistance band to go through those movements will force you to add additional strength focus into every single one of these patterns, and being able to go through them still with complete control and complete focus will make those exercises even more effective. Now moving on to the next intensity level, we will be laying down on our stomachs. We still have the stick in our hands and we will go through rotations laying on our stomach. Not only will we require a little bit more strength in our posterior chain, but also a little bit more control because we want to keep the rest of our body in complete contact with the ground and moving from our shoulders as well. Don't forget, we're still going through elevation, adduction and depression with every single movement. And once we have done our elevated rotations, we can move back into staying close to our back musculature, going through extension and depression and elevation and extension up here. Extension, depression, extension, elevation. Take a short break and repeat. Which moves us to the next level of intensity using a pull-up bar. But before we do some of the little bit more advanced exercises, there is one that you should be doing even if you don't have anything to do with either strength training, calisthenics. The passive hang will have absurd benefits for everyone. Being able to decompress all of your joints as well as pulling apart your tendons and ligaments and getting some space in between there can help you alleviate pain, reduce the risk of injury, and over time even get still stronger in your shoulders and much safer. And all you need for a passive hang is just enough grip strength to keep you up on that bar. And from here, you're gonna start actively releasing tension in every single muscle group until all of your joints are being pulled apart actively. And then you're just hanging around for as long as you can. Aim for 30 to 60 seconds of grip strength. And trust me, if you do this multiple times a week, not only will you feel so much better in your shoulders, but also in your back and your hips and pretty much anywhere where you are having tension-related pains and issues. With that out of the way, the two must-do exercises for your shoulder health and shoulder mobility, the scapular pull-up. Switching from scapular elevation, which we learned before, into scapular depression, which is why we did all of those exercises using the stick and the resistance band to learn how to activate those muscles on command and to get them primed for exercises like the scapular pull-up. Level number one is the symmetrical scapular pull-up. Go into complete decompression. Start flexing your scapular and shoulder musculature to pull your upper body up into scapular depression and reverse into elevation. Asymmetrical scapular pull-ups. For one, we can go through a longer range of motion, but we also need a lot more control. And now we're adding more upward rotation in our scapula to the elevation and depression part. We are turning our arm and our shoulder inward, reversing and repeating on the other side, which will teach us asymmetrical control over those entire muscle groups as well as the joints and the surrounding tissue. Which brings me to one of my favorite exercises, hanging from a bar. We'll go into complete rotation in our rotator cuff, forcing it into deeper and deeper and deeper stretches, lengthening every single muscle surrounding our rotator cuff. Now, if you don't have the strength as well as the required mobility to do so while you are completely hanging, get yourself a stepper to step onto and take some of the weight off of your rotator cuff. However, if you do have the strength, then you're just gonna hang here and use whatever surrounds your bar to push yourself deeper into rotation. Trust me, it's a lot of fun to just hang around and spin around like we used to as little children, or at least I did. Which brings us to one of two very advanced exercises, and one that I have demonstrated in detail before on this channel. We will go through Skin the Cat, which basically puts together everything we learned in this entire video into one single move. We are hanging from a bar and we're gonna pull up just like so, thread the needle with both legs, and then we're gonna hang our entire body weight down here, start extending our legs and try to make our body as heavy as possible, pulling us deeper and deeper into this end range of motion stretch. Most injuries happen in this end range of motion because this is where we lack the most strength, and being able to reverse this movement, just the last bit of this movement, is an amazing exercise at both strengthening your shoulders in this end range of motion, as well as helping you deepen that stretch with every single repetition. So now over time, you're not just getting stronger, you're not just increasing your control, you're not just increasing your flexibility, but you are working very holistically on a part of our bodies that leads to an insane amount of problems, and you will be able to, at the very least, get around some of those. Which brings me to the final exercise in this repertoire, and probably the most advanced one, which means that we'll still need one exercise to prime our shoulders before we get into this position. Bend our legs here, we're gonna step shoulder width apart, and we're gonna start pushing our chest down towards the ground. Now, the only reason we're not extending our legs is so we can take some of the stretch off of our leg musculature and focus more on opening our chest and shoulders by pushing down. Now, if this is the end of your range of motion, that is absolutely amazing. Over time, it's gonna get better. And if you are a little bit more flexible, then come forward with your hand and switch from a downward dog to a puppy pose, which is gonna put a lot more pressure on your shoulders, opening up your chest, opening up your shoulders, release, and take a short break, because now we can go to the next exercise. And what makes this exercise so absolutely amazing is not that it's just a strength exercise, but also a flexibility and control exercise, and you can use it as a testing threshold for how well your shoulders are doing in all three of those departments. Now, we're not just gonna hold statically. What we wanna do is turn this back bridge bend into a dynamic exercise, going through bridge push-ups all the way up. Extend your back, push your hips up, get on your toes, open up your chest and shoulders, reverse the entire movement. We have an absurdly amazing stretch in our entire posterior chain. Let go of some of the tension in our posterior chain and move back into the bridge position. But if you can go through a handful of repetitions of this, at the very least, you know when it comes to shoulder mobility, which is the combination of strength, flexibility, and control, you're A-okay. And those are, with some exceptions, basically all of the exercises that I use to keep my shoulders healthy, flexible, loose, limber, strong, and indestructible. And you can too. With that said, that's basically all the time I've left for you today. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe, and check out other videos on this channel, because we literally have new ones every single day. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Captain Cairo, peace out.